Obviously want to welcome everybody to our great merchandising seminar for our Winter Education Series. Thanks to Lee Wood and Dean Johnson for hosting our event today, and all of our great presenters. We have, I think, a tremendous lineup here today. Unfortunately, Chris Kenny had part of a tree fall on his house. Everything's okay, but he might need some shingles on his roof. But anyway, he will not be coming today. But we've got 5 great presenters to show you some of their great business skills and merchandising techniques, and get you to understand a lot more about this great business that we all know and love. We're gonna have everybody, kind of come up individually and talk about their respective topics. We've got a few guest presenters as well. We have Dean Johnson today. We have Ben Hoffine and Sam Wiley. They run great businesses, merchandisers of the year, big clubs they're running now. And then also our guest presenters, Brian Dobby, who is in conjunction with a company called SendOutCards.com, really cool thing to connect with your membership. And then Andrea Rowan, who's we'll call her the merchandiser extraordinaire. She's with Martin and Fenwick Golf now, and she'll show you a lot of ways to spruce up your shop and make it visually appealing. So anyway, without further ado, let's bring up Dean, and you can have at it.
First of all, welcome to Leewood. We were doing a little extra work, obviously, in the winter, so we just refinished the hallway there. So I was just trying to jam things together today. So we have chairs and a projector and presenters. That's all we need, I think. But welcome. A little brief history on myself. I've been in the Met PGA for 26 years, since 1991. I've worked at 4 places, all within 8 miles of here. I've been very lucky. What I will say, because I want to gear a lot of this towards, half of it towards assistants. And I'm sure, when I go to a seminar, if I could grab 2 or 3 things that I can take back, that's what I'm looking for. But also a history of, where you can take yourself as a professional too in merchandising. I was 23, like Ben Hoffine, who now took over John Kennedy's position in Westchester. I started with John Kennedy. So right from the beginning, my merchandising background in golf started with a really credible fella. All right. Before that, I actually manufactured clothing for about 2.5, 3 years. That leads me into a thought. Anything you could bring to the table as far as offering different skills to an employer is important. So when I went to John Kennedy as a 23-year-old kid in 1991, I actually went in March and said, hey, my company just dissolved. I always thought about being a golf pro. You have anything for me? And he actually said, Dean, I want you. I just don't have a job for you, but start working tomorrow. So I came in and I ran his range for about 2-3 months, and then his shop manager, co-shop manager quit, and I was in like Flynn, and I worked the next 3 years for John, running half his shop with 2 different gals at each time. So what enticed him about me was my background, as far as knowing something about merchandising, about the apparel industry, because a lot of people walk through the door and you have to have something special. So the first thing is have something special, work for good people. After John Kennedy, I worked for Charlie Hicks at St. Andrews, and then I worked for Heath Wassam at Fenway for 7 years before I got here, 11 years ago. They all actually won Merchandiser of the Year while I worked for them. So I always thought that was a good catch. So on a resume, it looked awesome. Everyone I worked for won Merchandiser of the Year while I worked for them. Was it me? For some, it was a little bit more my effort, but others, it really wasn't me. For John Kennedy, it wasn't. But certainly I was more involved with Charlie Hicks and Heath Wassam. So for young assistants or assistants that are still trying to get into the next level, the more you can get yourself into positions, and it doesn't even have to be working for, you can go and just spend some time with them. John Kennedy, as Ben and a few of you here might know, he would have seminars for his staff and invite other people, and he would just do what we're doing here informally with, well, semi-formally with different people, small group. And that's a great thing to do. So sharing ideas is important. So again, what I like to stress is you're going to gain knowledge from everyone you work for. Maybe not who you work with, but sometimes that happens too. So what you do is you develop an idea from, for me as an example, John, Heath, and Charlie had 3 different styles of merchandising. And it usually is adapted by how the club wants them to, you know, to run their business. Charlie Hicks didn't own the shop at the time. You know, John Kennedy owned a big shop, and Heath owned it, but he was on a Mill River. So I actually had 3 different examples to learn from. And you learn a little bit from each one, okay? Now, if you work for someone a long time, go talk to somebody, sit down, have a brief conversation, and just get their ideas, but you're gonna get a few people's ideas today. What I like to think is, and all 3 of them didn't do everything I would do, but I never questioned, but I offered suggestions, obviously. And then when it's your turn to shine, then you're going to take a little bit of each one of them, and then you're going to develop your own style. Okay? I never thought when I was young that the amount of rounds played, really, if you look in a book the PGA used to give us in the old days, like Kevin and I were talking about earlier, that the sales in your shop are directly related to rounds played. I always thought, for many years, it doesn't really matter. But then when I actually started to get more involved and took over my own head pro position, it really does matter. It's kind of funny. You question things as a young pro, and as you go, you start to recognize that, hey, these people know what they're talking about. So the graphs, I know Ben's going to talk about certain things with buying plans. I'm not going to get so specific, but have a game plan and utilize things that are published through the PGA. Don't go by it totally. You're going to learn from your experience. But also what I've noticed is I've changed my opinion on formal information that was given to me. So my big thing as a head pro and what I can offer my membership, and I'm going to lead into how I think about buying and what I need to offer. I usually don't think about necessarily making a profit on everything in my shop. I'm a small shop, and our ladies program has dipped, and we're trying to get it going again. But I will say I carry a lot of ladies' clothing, and I know I'm going to take a loss, every year, and it's a chunk. But I know that I'm making my ladies happy. So when I'm buying, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping everybody happy, yet you have to make a profit, hopefully, obviously. You have to pay your staff and put a little money in your pocket. But when I look at merchandising, I say, hey, what do they want? Offer something new and fresh, and what would I buy? Okay? That's pretty much it as a gut feeling. But I would always take care of the ladies, because a lot of people come to play our course in these 9-holer events and the Wiggles and this and that. And they all say, I wish my pro carried as much lady stuff as you do, Dean. So we'll start with the women. I bring in more than I need to, and I have a 80% rack off in November, December, trying to dump it. And then my daughter will grow into a lot of the stuff as she gets older if she plays golf. But I always looked at it as, don't always get caught up into, hey, am I going to make a profit on it? The question is it going to make my membership happy? And then in some areas, you're going to lose some money. But in other areas, you can obviously make it. So you make it in your hats, your balls, your gloves, men's shirts. Sharon?
I just want to get, how many lines do you carry with the ladies?
It's a good question. It's really an example. I give a lot of people opportunities, but if I don't see anything I like, even though I've known the rep for 25 years and love them, I won't bring their stuff in. And they know that going in. I'm very honest with my reps, and I'm told, I'm told once in a while from people I'm not as chummy with that, how come you don't see me? And I said, I don't want to waste your time because I know I'm not going to buy your stuff. For women, I bring in 6 lines at the most, okay? And and when I go into, I never do an order while I'm with the rep. I make notes in the catalog and paper, and then once I see all my reps, then I make my decision as far as how much I'm going to allocate towards each. There was a company, I don't want to name names, but I did very good with men's products, but last year I didn't really see anything I liked, so my order was 40% of what I did previous years, and he called me up and I said, I didn't like your stuff. I said, you don't produce it, so don't feel insulted. I said, they just got to step it up. I said, I'm not going to bring in something that I don't think will sell, so I'm going to try and give someone else a chance. So I know from my experience, in the old days you bring in a lot of stuff. Now I think the head pros are starting to gear towards lowering the amount of companies you bring in and getting a little deeper. I don't know where it's going now. For me, it's about what they offer. I'm not just going to bring in something that isn't going to sell, in my opinion, just because of the name. But did that answer your question? So for ladies, about 6, but it could go from 40% in one company down to like 10% in another. I try to keep it fresh for my ladies. I try to bring in a couple of companies that offer items that aren't golf. I bring in bags. I'll bring in handbags from 2 different companies, Dooney and Bork, and other companies that offer different handbags. I bring in scarves. I bring in jewelry. I call it tchotchke stuff, but these are things that they could pick up for a member guest. They could buy a quick gift for. Looks good in a cabinet, and it dresses up your shop, makes it a little bit more boutique-y. I have a small shop, so I kind of jam in. I use a lot of shells and face outs. It is what it is. But as far as clothing, yeah, I would say 6 is the max. Because the hardest thing about buying women is sizing too. I'm not a big fan of doing trunk shows too. I used to do, which were successful, but I haven't done it, but this is an idea, fashion shows in the beginning of the year with your opening day ladies. I've done that with some success, but as we've gotten smaller participation, I've kind of pulled back on that. So as far as that, use your gut feeling, okay? Surveys are important. I'm sure you're going to hear from other people. I don't do it every year. I do informal surveys too with my key people. I mean, if you have people that are, 10 ladies that are buying most of your stuff, you're going to talk to them personally, okay, and see what they want, make them happy. Don't be afraid to take risks as far as what you bring in. Create freshness. And I brought a couple of things. I'm sure some of you guys and gals have done it, but again, leaning towards your assistants. When you come into a new job, you want to come in with a bang. So, change things up right from the beginning. I like to offer at least 1 or 2 new fresh things a year. I brought up a picture, something simple like going and getting one of your holes painted. Now it's our 16th hole, it used to be our 13th. Getting something painted and having a nice frame. The company, Limited Editions, gave me 4 framed ones. I put them on the walls. It came with nice frames, and then I sold 25 of them my first month. Now, it's good, you make some sales, but it's really not about making sales for the money. It's about creating a value for yourself. But making the money is important too, obviously. But it was something like, wow, that's fantastic. Make your members feel proud of where they are. Sometimes, with memberships changing over a little bit now, you want to start to make them feel like this is their home and they're proud of it. So taking a little piece of, their club back to their house just makes their experience better and keeps them here longer. Signs by the Sea is a great new company I'm sure you all know about. Things they can put in their dens or in their man caves. Those are things that are new and fresh you can use each year that new members and even old members. Throw pillows are cool. They make good for advertising, and you might not sell a ton of them, but they're always good there for visual display. I always think with things like that, like if I owned a house and I was a member of a club, well, everyone has to live somewhere, but if I were a member of a club, I would pick up a pillow with my logo on it. But you say, well, why don't I sell 300 of them? Well, no, not everyone thinks like you, but offer it. Bring in 6 of them. Reminds me of a quick story with Charlie Hicks. Charlie Hicks, if you don't know him, is Greg's here. He's the pro emeritus at St. Andrews. He's one of the nicest guys you could ever meet and work for sure. And he worked for Charlie Coates, who some of you might know. And he always used to tell me in his meetings with reps, okay, give me a dozen. You can't get hurt with a dozen, Dean. And he'd look at me, because Charlie Coates used to always say that. You can't get hurt with a dozen. How much can you lose? So don't be afraid to pick up things that, are cute, fun to look at, and, if someone's doing a quick gift or you throw it in a raffle at the end of the year, you'll get rid of it. So bring in fresh stuff each year. Try and bring 1 or 2 new things. Clothing, personally, I want to start my own clothing company again, and I might someday, because I just don't see, the industry going in there's not enough extra companies out there. 25 years ago, there were 4 times more companies that you can go and look at. Now it's so narrow, in my opinion. There's just so much you can do with clothing. You know, you're susceptible to what they offer, and so are the reps. You know, you look at a rep, and you know, and I'm pretty honest if you know me, and a rep will be like, "Oh, you have to bring this in, Dino, because it's gorgeous. You know, it's gorgeous." I said, "It looks disgusting." You know, I mean, I'll just be honest. I said, "Does everything in here look good to you?" Because it's not. I mean, there's 300 pieces here. You can't like every single one. So we joke a little bit, you know, and I rip a little bit. But, you know, clothing is one thing, displaying it, we're going to talk about that later. But as far as what you bring in, keep it fresh, keep it exciting, bring new things in, don't underestimate women. Juniors, certainly there's a niche there. It depends on what kind of program you have. I think it's still tough for myself too. I bring in a lot of t-shirts and hoodies. You know, I get rid of them during my events, which probably be leading me into my next segment. How do you produce more, you know, sales? Here at Leawood, when I got here, they said, "Hey Dean, you're going to make $12,500 a year average on kickers." Now, I always thought women have kickers. You know, how am I going to make money off of kickers? But I was like signed away, and then the assistant Will that came in, you know, with me that worked here prior with Brian. It's really just a raffle. Every Saturday and Sunday morning, anyone that plays golf goes into a raffle, and we charge them $3 a day. Okay, so every day I'm charging out a couple $100 on a Saturday or Sunday, and that goes right into the credit books, and I pull out a few names and I post them in the men's locker room. So being creative with getting credit in the shop, which is ultimately sales, in a fun way, helps. So kickers is simply a raffle every Saturday and Sunday. I do a lot of hit the green and beat the pros. For events, I put them around charities. So I might give back 20% of the net to the charity and send one of my assistants up there. And it's a way to, you know, break the ice with an organization, or even with your membership, you know, if you're trying to promote sales. But I find, you know, here, you know, a lot of my members wait till they get credit before they start buying stuff. I mean, there are people that just buy things, but you have to hit everybody. You have to have that 50 off rack because some people aren't going to buy anything at regular price. So you got to kind of hit everyone you can. So try to create fun and exciting things to promote credit in your shop, which ultimately is going to be sales, okay? Whether you base it around a major event where you go and pick a guy on Sunday that's in the finals of Masters, combine his final day score with your net score, and then everyone puts in 10 or 15, 20 bucks, whatever you think you can handle, and you got yourself $1,000 for that day. And then, you know, what I find with that kind of stuff, yes, it generates income, but it's twofold. You're also creating a fun atmosphere because they don't care about 20 bucks. They care if they're going to win, what did their guy shoot later on that day. So that's another example. If you don't have, you know, your ladies can support you there. We have a Player of the Year points for the ladies, and whatever money's left over in their fund at the end of the year, they put it towards Player of the Year points, which goes to credit. So each event they play in, if they come in first, they get like 10 points, second, 5, you know, whatever, they go down the list. And then they give me a check at the end of the year, and then they come in and use it. It's fun. So I will say for the young guys going in, make sure that you get proactive with finding fun ways to increase sales through credit, but also create and stimulate excitement in your shop. We're kind of lucky here, and I didn't take advantage of it until a couple years ago, probably 4 years ago, but our most famous member was Babe Ruth, probably the most recognizable sportsman in history, I think. So he was a member here. It was the only club he was a member at. So about 5, 6 years ago, we started to promote that more. They never really did. So, you know, simple things like a ball coin where, you know, I ran out of them. I only have my legal ones. But you get a ball coin with, you know, Babe Ruth's number 3 on it. They sell like hotcakes. Also, I put the Babe Ruth on the hat. You all are creative, hopefully, or you hire creative people to offset maybe a little skill, you know, that you don't possess. But every club has something, I would imagine, that you can use to create a little bit of a different scenario beside your logo. And I know Sam's going to talk a little bit about what he does, but I reference you know, John Kennedy only because when I first went into his shop, I think it was 3 years ago, on their south course they have a red barn. And I saw Red Barn logos on shirts and hats, and I looked at it and said, what the hell is John thinking about? I'm like, that thing is, who's going to buy that shirt? But then I asked around, I know members there, and they were buying the Red Barn shirt. You never know what people are going to enjoy. Now, of course, you got to get it approved. You can't just do it without, make sure you go to the higher ups. You don't want to change a logo or add a logo. But I think if it's something fun and exciting for your club, like the Red Barn at Westchester, and like the Babe Ruth, where, we put the logo on the hat. Also with Levelware, I got it going on the plackets too. Those are fun things that you can hone in on that, hey, I don't have that logo. I have 20 shirts with our regular logo, but that's a little different and cool. But just be a little careful, because when I first got here, I changed the ball inside our shield because they tried to create dimples and it looked ugly. You couldn't really tell it was dimples, it just looked like shading. So I just made it clear, and a couple of the old timers were complaining that I changed the logo. Next thing I know, the president of the club saying, why are you changing our logo? And I said, all I did was clean up the ball because it looks better. So, I learned it early in my time here is just make sure if you change something significant, you get approval from someone that you can always have them in your corner. Well, the president of the club knows about it, and the board talked about it, and it's fine. So always cover yourself in this business, even when you think it's a no-brainer. So finding new and exciting things to bring in the shop. Also, take something from your club, switch it a little bit. If you have an anniversary, obviously, those are fun things. Those are areas that I think are very important. Okay. I'm not going to go deep into it, but hiring staff. I have Keith Melnick here. I don't know where he is. There he is. He's hiding in the back. He's been with me 2 years. Because I've had such a merchandising background, and it's always been something I'm interested in, as I get older through the business, I wish, I could take a little bit off that, but it's kind of ingrained in me. But bringing the right people in is important. Will Fenn, who's been working here for 17 years, doesn't really want to do any merchandising, okay? Keith's okay, but doesn't really hammer that either, sorry, Keith. But if he wants to work for you in the future, he does a great job. But I've had 3 or 4 different shop managers in 11 years, and hiring the right people is important. Keeping things fresh in the shop. I think I put too much burden on myself. So I'm also giving you things that I think I need to change in myself, because you might be doing things that I do, and maybe I don't learn as quick, and maybe you're saying, hey, I do that too. I think we have to, every year, try and have a game plan, which I do. And often we have good intentions going into a year with merchandising as far as, how you're doing your operation, buying, inventory control, display, changing displays. That's really what we're talking about. I put a lot of that burden on myself. I hired a gal in the middle of last year, and she's coming back this year, and she's really great at that. So hiring key people is important and motivating them. But I think it's an evolving process, and you never conquer it. So don't think that Dean Johnson, he won Merchandiser of the Year, and he worked for these great people, and wow, I know a little bit more about him, and he had a successful company before he was a golf pro at a young age. Those are all good things. But there's things that I have good intentions about, but it's hard to implement in our busy schedules. So do the best you can to have a game plan at the beginning of the year. Hire good people, obviously, but recognize that if you want to change something about your own way of running things in your operation, you really got to stick to it. And I often take a lot of the burden on my own shoulders, and I try each year, and it's always funny. Even when you hire more people, it doesn't necessarily happen. So allocate your time properly. Also, let some of the responsibilities go to other people. I mean, I'm not a control freak, but I think what I've done is I've put so much on myself that I don't allocate some of the things that I do to other people that I could. So how you're going to run your business, or potentially someday down the road, have a game plan, try to stick to it, but you are who you are. I always think you don't change your stripes. I'm always going to want to be involved, and it's sometimes tough, but as a golf professional, you know, our members want to see us outside playing golf, teaching, certainly being inside. Try to be well-rounded as golf professionals. But as far as merchandising, I know the fellas are going to talk a little more specifically about things. I kind of gave you a general idea of how I think about things, where I came from, what you can do to spice things up. Any questions? Sharon, that was a good question. Anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I have a question. Could you talk a little bit about if you had some sort of a finance plan in place when you were making the transition? Did you prepare a couple years out? Did you expect anything like along those lines?
I didn't do this, but I know a lot of people that work for John. You know, you could always go to someone that has had experience that you know. But I don't think there's any PGA professional in our section that wouldn't accept, you know, someone coming over and giving them some guidance. I didn't reach out to people because I thought I had, you know, enough information and understanding. But, you know, I think I did okay when I transitioned into a head pro job. But working for John, especially, people would come to him and help him guide him through their new setup and their business plan and their buying plan. So I'd like to say I was very formal, because I've worked for people that were very formal, where they knew how many shirts they were going to buy in the beginning of the year, and they met with 4 companies. They divided it perfectly to the number. And I don't really go by that, but I think you should have some sort of plan. Mine was more in my head. I wasn't as numerical. It was more of a gut feeling plus knowing where I want to allocate money. You know, you want to buy certain categories in the product lines. So you know, having a guideline in the beginning is set. Use the pro that was there before you if you can, but I think that most of the time you're going to get a good response from them, and then build off that. You know, certainly gut feeling, but also with some sort of idea. How many shirts am I going to buy around? How many pants? But don't stick by it. If you see something that you love, you know, go a little bit deeper, okay? And if you don't, you know, then go a little lighter. You're going to learn that first year that being the first year pro, they're going to be excited and they're going to want to support you. So they're going to buy a lot of stuff. My best year was my first year as far as how much sales I did. There's always things to buy. You could always bring more stuff in. So I've had a friend who got a big job. He brought so much stuff in that it ultimately killed him his first year. And, you know, financially he made less than he was as an assistant the prior year. So you can get caught into buying too much. So don't have, have smart expectations, divide it out equally, but then when you go into buy, you know, adapt. Use your gut, you know, feeling, and then hopefully have some information from the prior year. That's what I would say.
You talked about all the ladies' lines that you bring in. Now, I mean, in a lot of ways, for a lot of us, ladies' apparel, ladies, is like the redhead stepchild of our shop. How do you get rid of what's your exit plan for ladies' apparel?
You know, I tell you what, when I buy, I know, like I said, in my mind, I'm losing money on women every year. I just accept that, okay? So I bring in enough where I know I'm supplying the amount of things, it's good presentation. I know not everyone's like that. So how do I get rid of it? We died down after mid-September. So all my big events for women, you know, inter-clubs, member guests, I do big sales. You know, I'll sit here on the podium and I'll say, okay, ladies, we're gonna have a sale in the pro shop if everyone wants to come down. I was thinking of giving 25% off to everything you buy. And ladies say, oh, that's great. They're like, well, what about 50? I said, 50? You want me to give you 50 off today? I said, all right, come on down, 50% off. Whoa! And they come down. So if you're breaking even on that 50%, the way I look at it is you're making a lot of ladies happy and you have less stuff at the end of the year. I mean, I don't know how everyone else feels, but I feel like, you know, it's a hard sell from the beginning. You have to bring in a lot of stuff to appease a smaller amount of people. But I want to make sure they're happy with the product that they're getting, and they don't have to ever feel they have to go somewhere else to buy something. What I hear, like I said, when they come to Leawood is, I wish my pro carried as much stuff as you. We have nothing. And that's not just from 2 or 3. And I don't think I have a ton of stuff, but I know when I go in other shops, I'm like, man, I have like twice as much, and these guys are a bigger club than me. So if I lose, I just say to myself, well, I'm gaining in other ways. So I on big days, I don't look at it as moneymaker days. I look at it as break-even days. I'm like, let me get rid of as much as I can and get my money back. All right, and then at the end of the year, my buddy Will, who works for me, gets agita because once I start putting a 60, 70 off rack, and then in November I even put 90% off. I know John Kennedy has some great programs that he promoted throughout the years where you can donate to different organizations. He's so proactive. He encourages people to do things, and you could do a tax write-off. I've never done it, but I know people have. You could find charitable ways of giving your product out and maybe getting a tax write-off. I've given away stuff, and I don't really care about the tax write-off, but but don't be like, listen, I'm not doing this in a negative way, but my good buddy worked for Gene Boric at Metropolis, and Gene, as you all know, is a great pro, great player, was at Metropolis for many years. So my buddy went to work for him, and he says, hey, I got some clothes in the back. Maybe you could do something with them. He went in there. There were 45 boxes of clothes from the previous 10 years just sitting there. So my buddy took them, went up to a public driving range, and for a couple weekends sat up some tables and sold almost all of it for, to make, I think he made like 15 or 20 grand, and Gene gave him 25%, and they were both happy. I'm not one to keep stuff in my storeroom for years. I'd rather give it away than just have it sit there and dust. And I'd rather members come in and say, holy moly, this is $9. It was regularly $50. I'm like, $9, you can go garden in it, paint your house. I mean, it's $9. How could you not buy it? Once it's gone, I assure you, just like buying stocks, if you ever do that, once you sell that loss, you forget about it. Once you sell that, it's out of your life, and you don't have to worry about it. If you see boxes in your storeroom from the previous year or 3 years ago, you're going to get agita, and it's just a waste of space. So do everything you can to get rid of it.
How do you look at bringing new products that weren't in the shop previous years? How do you? What's your game plan on what you bring in that's totally new? That
Clothing?
Clothing, hard goods.
Hard goods. I've tried, and I had to call the Mizuno yesterday, trying to get them to take one of my 2 fitting carts back that I've had for 2 years, but that's beside the point. I try to bring in like Nike equipment. I tried twice in 11 years to bring it in, and it never sold, for me here. But after 5 years, I was like, I want to give it another shot, and it proved me wrong again here. Not that it won't work somewhere else. I stick to the core and hard goods. If there's that super duper putter that looks real funky that a couple of our good players in the section use and they promote that, I'm like, that's great for them. They could probably kick it with their foot and make it the putts from wherever they are. But I don't go too far beyond and bringing in wacky things, but the new and fresh things in hard goods I try to. Clothing, like I said, I could have a buddy for 25 years in this business that's a sales rep, and I could buy from them for 15 years, and this has happened. And then they have a new line that I just know won't sell. I'm not buying from them. Or they have, their prints that year and their patterns are just not good, so I'm cutting it down, 75%. Don't always feel like committed that you have to do something with someone over ties with them. Like I said, keep it fresh. I brought in a line last year that 3 or 4 people loved, but I knew I lost about $1,500 on it just on this little tiny line. But it made a few people happy, and it was different and fresh. So take chances, have a game plan, but at the end of the day, be sensible about what you bring in.
Great, thanks, Dean. That's
All
great.
right.
Awesome.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much. This is our 2015 Merchandise of the Year. I failed to mention that, but thank you, Dean, for all that great insight. Let's move on to Brian Dobby. Brian's got a great company that he's involved with called SendOutCards.com. I'm going to pass this around, some good information about that, and see if I can't bring it up here on on the screen here for everybody. I'll leave it on.
How's everybody doing? Thank you for having me here. You know, Dean was just talking about sharing and stuff, and for me, from the New Jersey section, coming here to share with the Mets section, it's really quite an honor because we might be your neighbors over there, but we look at what you do over here. We know about all the great courses you have, all the great players and teachers, so it's really great to talk to you. Dean, really good job. You mentioned a couple good points about making your members happy. I'm going to talk today about following up with your members, connecting with your members, and building better relationships. We're all in the golf business. We call it the golf business, but I tend to think we're in the relationship building business. The better relationships we have with our members, the more they're going to support you, the more they're going to take lessons from you, support your club. So I think your goal today, if I can get you to have take one thing from today, is how do you make your members feel good, okay? The best pros that I know, they're all great teachers, they're great players, what have you, but they have the ability to make their members feel good. And if you can do that, make somebody feel happy, it really goes a long way in what we're trying to do. So basically, how did I get here today? I've been a PGA pro since 1994 in the New Jersey section. I spent a year working for James Lights down in Louisiana. I'm sure you all know who James is. He's a great guy, well ahead of his time. But New Jersey's been good to me. I'm the director of instruction at Montclair Golf Club. I've been there for 15 years now. It's a great place. In our section, I don't know about here, but every year we have a spring and fall meeting, and our board tells us about sending out thank you cards to our members, our clubs that we play tournaments at, our sponsors. And I had the biggest problem years ago getting those thank you cards out. I could never write well, I never had a stamp, I never had a card or whatever. I was pretty much not lazy, but I didn't see the value in it for me. And I think my mindset changed when I started using send out cards. About 8 years ago, I got a card in the mail from a friend of mine, and it was pretty cool. It had a picture of him, and he was playing golf. And I got curious. So I called him. I said, Jeff, how did you do this card? How did you make it? So he told me about send out cards. It's online. And he said, you know, you can go on there, create a card, add a picture. So I said, wow, that's kind of cool. Let me give it a shot. So I started using send out cards for my thank you cards for tournaments. And it was real easy for me. I could come home, play in a tournament, get it out. So what happens? Everybody take your cell phone out of your pocket. Does everybody have one of these? Take it out of your pocket.
Flip phones work?
The cell phone came along. The iPhone came along for me. I already had send out cards. It was easy. Okay. This iPhone, because I can take pictures, turned my whole world around. So now when I go to a club, I take a few pictures of the clubhouse, maybe a signature hole, somebody I'm playing with, and I can easily download that into the card. So what I started to do was I would take pictures of my students, maybe the top of their swing or whatever, and when they had an accomplishment or something, maybe they broke 100 or 80 or whatever, they won a tournament, I would send them a card saying congratulations, and I'd span their picture on the inside and just put a little note saying, you know, Steve, you know, I heard you won a tournament or whatever, great job, Brian, okay? And so what happened was I started getting back all this great feedback from the members. People would be coming in saying, hey, Brian, you know, that was really cool. That was nice. You know, thanks for that gesture. Thanks for thinking of me. So I took it to the next level. I said, all right, I'm getting good feedback from the members, my students. Let me see what happens with junior golfers. Okay, we have a big junior golfer program at Montclair. So I started taking pictures of all the kids, all right? And I would, if we had an inter club at Montclair, I would stand there in the first tee and just take a down the line picture of the kids that played. I would create a card for them, blow it up, and on the inside I would say, you know, thanks for coming to Montclair, thanks for playing. So what happens is I start getting phone calls and emails from members from other clubs saying, man, that was the nicest thing you ever did to my kid. You know, how come more pros don't do this? Nobody's ever done this before. So the feedback I was getting was incredible, just from a picture, adding it into a card. Now, what's great about sending out cards is I can come home at night, log on anywhere, upload the picture, and I'll show you how to do it today, add a little sentence or whatever, and send it out. They do it all for me. They add the stamps, they send it, and I could even add a gift to it. So now, my thinking was, okay, I'm starting to build relationships now and making people feel good. So sending thank you cards used to be a problem for me. I didn't see the value in it. I knew I was supposed to do it. Everybody told me to do it. But now I see the value in it. I'm making somebody feel good. And if I can make somebody feel good, if I can make a member feel good or a junior feel good or a sales rep feel good or whoever, I don't think about it as thank you cards anymore. I think about it as a follow-up card. Follow up. We need to do a better job of following up with our clients, our students, anybody we work with. So I used to send 0 thank you cards during the years, 0. This is where I was at. Okay, because of this company Send Out Cards, I send well over 500 to 1,000 cards now. Yes?
Brian, just real quick, how much is a rough cost to do one of these?
I'll get into that. Roughly, if you want this account, it'll cost you $10 a month, okay? Just to have the system, to be able to make a card. You could spend more, and I can get into that. Or you can just pay as you go. But I want you to know, to have the account costs you $10, okay? And then take it from there. A few years ago, Send Out Cards started giving you the custom brand manager. I need some water, I'm sorry. If you look on the back of those cards I sent around, and I thought this was pretty unique, the custom brand manager allows you to customize the back of the card. Excuse me. That's good. When I saw that option, that I could brand myself with the back of that card, a light bulb went off. I can put my club's logo on it. I can put my picture on it with my contact information on it. And that opened up a whole new door. Now I'm sending cards, but I'm also marketing myself. I'm also branding myself. So any club, you could put your club logo on it. So it's pretty unique now. You can send gifts with it. When I have lady clinics or men clinics, I'll send them a card of thanks, and then I'll add some brownies to the card. It costs me about $8, but they're spending $150, $200 to be in my clinics. The least I can do is thank them with a gift, and it's a home run. The brownies are delicious. Everybody loves them, and it's just another way to show your appreciation to what you're doing. We have to show appreciation to the people that support us, our members. At the end of the year, my clients that I teach, I send them a nice card that says, you know, thanks for supporting me this year, looking forward to next year. Just whatever you can do. But, you know, birthdays, pro-ams, you go play in a pro-am, take a quick picture of the group, put it on the inside of the card. Somebody wins a tournament at your club, take a picture of them holding the trophy, put it in the card. There's so many uses for this. It's incredible in our business. So again, don't think about just a thank you card. Think of a follow-up card. And because of this, you know, be creative. Pull it out of your pocket. Go to a club, take a picture. I saw people here are already taking pictures of Dean. What are you going to do with the picture? Put it in the card, send him a thank you card. It's a memory that he's not going to throw away. I've had members come up to me because I sent them a card and they said, that was the nicest thing that somebody did to me. Send me another copy of that card. I want it framed. So I've got members that I've sent just a thank you card for playing in a tournament, putting this on their desk, putting it in their office. They don't throw these things out. So understand the value of putting somebody's picture on the card. Okay, so your iPhone, to me, my Send Out Card account and my iPhone are the two most valuable things I have. Okay, because I can follow up with anybody. And most people don't follow up. If you look at all sales statistics and stuff, most people don't. And unfortunately, it's because of time constraint, we get too busy or whatever. So this eliminated all that for me because It was just very fast to do, okay? So on this sheet of paper, these are ideas that I've used in the last 8 years. Value is something, but we have to take action. You know, Dean was up here, he had some great ideas, I was making some notes, you already helped me out, but until we take action, nothing's gonna change. So, your iPhone and the send out card account for me is priceless. If I send out a $1.50 card and somebody comes back to me and gives me a $100 lesson, it pays for itself. Or if somebody buys a new set of clubs or whatever, I'm going to thank them. I want my members knowing that I appreciate their business, and that's going to come back to you tenfold. You have to let them know that they're appreciated for supporting you, okay? On your iPhone, they have a Send Out Card app. Download it now. It's called the Send Out Card mobile app. Just download it. It's in your pocket. When I play in a tournament, I just bring my iPhone, I'll take a picture of the clubhouse, stick it in a card. Before I leave the parking lot, my thank you card's out to that head pro, the sales reps that are supporting the club, general manager, whatever. And you know, I used to send one card just to the head pro. I send one to the sponsors, to the general manager. I get as many out as I can, and the reason being is I want to connect with people. I want to build more relationships. Any assistant pros here, you go on an interview, you send that thank you card, add your picture to the inside. Get a nice picture of your suit and tie, add it. Reason being, they're going to remember you. If somebody's getting, you know, 10, 20 thank you cards, they read them, okay, great. You add a picture, you're adding value to that card. They're going to remember you. You're going to look good. You're going to look good because a lot of people aren't doing this stuff, okay? So follow up, but add your picture for that. Pro-ams are great, junior golf, lessons. Just keep thinking outside of the box, all right? In our section, everybody talked about being unique. How do you be unique, okay? This is the most unique thing I've come across in years. I wish I had it 25 years ago, okay? So be unique. And the only way you're going to find out how this affects somebody is by doing it. You have to try it for a month, see what happens. Send out some cards, okay? So the custom brand feature is great. You can market your club. And just keep connecting with your members. Your members want to hear from you. You're the pro. They love you. They want to hear from you. Text them, email them, send them a card. You know, be involved. Be proactive. They love you and they want to hear from you. That's my pro. Okay? The other thing about sending out cards, which is great, is any user can share contacts. So in our section, we've got about 50 guys and girls using it right now. If I have a list of contacts that I want to, say, give to Steve over there, I can just click a button and drop them all in there. Really easy, okay? Josh?
Can they be, you've told me about this several times,
Yeah.
and I've never pulled the trigger because I like the digital aspect of when I thank people of being able to send emails or Facebook. Does it have a digital component purely, or do you have to buy the card and send it in the mail and the whole thing?
No, they send it for you. You design it. You can design it with your own handwriting font if you want that, with your own signature. And they take care of it. You don't touch a thing.
Right, but could you just send like an email thank you through that?
No, not through this. This is strictly a card.
Strictly
It's
card.
cards and gifts, okay? And I just think it's a little bit more powerful, a little bit more personal than an email or text. So they're great vehicles, but when you add somebody's picture to it, it makes an impression, okay? Any questions so far? I'm going to get online here and show you how quickly I can get a card out. I can send 1,000 cards in a minute if I wanted to right now. So campaigns are cards that you send out to multiple people, like a Christmas card. You create it first and then just upload your contacts. Saves me time and money, so contact it with people. All right, so basically you go online, you sign in. And I'll show you some cards I've sent out just to give you an idea. All right, over over here on the left, basically if you get this system, you go to your main menu, and the first thing you would want to do is, this is like a card catalog. You put groups of people in here. So I have, lessons, inter-club, birthdays, junior clinics, men clinics. These are all my groups of people. So when I add a contact, right here, I want to add a contact and then put put their birthday in here, remember that, and then add them to the group down here, all right? So say I wanted to send a specific group, like the lady clinic here, a campaign, they're well organized. So think of this as your Rolodex. The other good thing about this system is the calendar, right here. So I can go on here, and everybody that I've entered, I put their birthday in. So I can just look up, say, in April, who's coming up in April. Gives me a good reminder of whose birthday's coming up. So if I want to send them out a card, I can send it right away. So to me, the contact manager and the calendar are priceless also, because I forget about whose birthday's coming up and stuff, and I want to, it gives me another chance to recognize people. Now over here, here's your card catalog. Send out cards has, okay, why is this?
You could go on Explorer, or the Internet Explorer instead of Chrome.
Internet Explorer, this one.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah, that didn't look. Let's see, I lost the mouse here, all one second.
I'm having trouble with the internet.
Is that the internet?
I don't know. Even though.
Let's try again.
So while you're doing that, question, so
Yeah.
it's $10 a month for this company. So how much did you say each card you send out averages? Or is it one set price?
Basically, a card is going to cost you roughly $1.20 plus a stamp.
So if you send out, so it's not insignificant if you're using it mass as far as the cost.
No doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt. But for me, I just throw this into my marketing expense, and it pays for itself.
What's your average month? $400 or $500?
For
Average month during the season that you send out? You think you're sending out 300 to 500 a month?
no, not that many. I
No?
send out about 30 to 50 a month. I try to get out one a day.
So these are special.
Yeah.
These aren't contacting and giving information. This is just a special occasion.
You can use it for, say, you got a golf special or something in your pro shop.
But it's over $1.
Well, the postcards are a little less than that. If you want to go postcard, I'll get into that in a second. See if I can get into the okay, here's your card catalog. Now, over here, this picture plus 2 cards. This is when you want to create a card yourself, all right? So you would just pick the format you want to use. Okay, so this would be the front of the card. Over here are your pictures and templates, and they have so many different uses, you would just have to go through it. So say if I wanted to do, just click and drag, go back to my pictures. The other night we had a charity hockey game, met Bloomer Esiason. So I would drop that into the card like that, and then you can add a text box or whatever. Click up here, go to the inside. I would take a picture like this, span it, and then you can center it. And then I would put a note up here, or I could go to clip art. You can get creative with these and do whatever you want. I think it's pretty cool. And just design something. So let's just say I designed it. I hit continue. Here's my custom back panel right here. I click on this and I've got, I use ones, this one's a personal one with my information. Here's the PGA logo. Let's just say I wanted to add my information to it. I click on that. That's going to be the back of the card now. I go to checkout. It defaults as your username. You can change it. I go click next. I go to my contacts. Say I wanted to send this to Carl. I just click in the search. There's Carl Overmeyer. Click select. Here's his contact information. Once you get your contacts in, the system moves faster. I click next step. Okay, now it's telling me here, it's going to cost 49 cents for the stamp, and I can confirm and go to payment, or I can go up here. Carl likes brownies. I'm going to send him a couple brownies. They cost me $3.10. I'm going to add that. All right, so now I'm going to go to checkout. There's Carl. And now it calculates your postage. I hit confirm and it goes. So here's my expense here. It's costing me $5 in postage, the expense of the card, and I click send.
And the points up there, you said what, and because that's the biggest thing, okay, how do we determine the points versus, what does that
The
cost?
cost of the points. So basically, send out cards. Carl, you just got brownies. So basically, send out cards is in Utah. Okay, I've got until midnight tonight to either edit that card or delete it. Okay, once midnight strikes, it gets set. Okay, Carl, you're set. So say I create a card at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 6 o'clock I want to go in and say, oh, I want to say something else. I can go in and edit it and then send it. But once midnight strikes, it goes to processing and it's gone. Now, if I want to send 100 cards in a minute, okay, these are campaigns. A campaign is a card that you're going to send to multiple people, your members. I've already created them in advance. Okay, they're sitting here. Now, if I go to my contact manager, and let's just say, here are my groups. Say, I just did a lady clinic. I'm going to pull up these contacts. Over here, there's 35 contacts. I can pick who I want them to go to, or I can select all of them. Let's just say we're going to, come on. We'll send them all. Okay, up here. Make it easy.
Send them all brown.
Send them all brown. So let's just say I got a Christmas card here. Okay, I've created it in advance. I want to send it to these 35 people. If it's 35 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. I click this, send campaign to check. It's telling me how many points and postage I need. I don't have enough in my account to do it, but if I did, I'm one click away from sending those cards out. So again, it's saving me time licking stamps, putting stamps on. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to create a beautiful card, get it out to my people, and give me time to do something else. Okay, so that's what a campaign is. Now we'll get into the points of it.
Hey Brian, if you sent that out to everybody, would it personalize it? Like if you wrote a note, would it say, hey,
Yes.
Ann, and then hey, Jen to the next person?
Yes, I can set the card up to address it to each person individually by their first name. Okay, there's an option on there to do it.
And how long does it take them to process it? If you send it out at midnight, when do they send it out?
To the East Coast, it's probably about 5 days. Okay, West Coast gets there a little earlier. Okay, so the cost of it. Just gonna log out, so everybody gets an idea of that. Basically, if you want the custom brand manager, okay, I would recommend the personal bundle. This gives you the custom brand manager and allows you to personalize the back of the card. To me, the back of that card is priceless for any of us because you can put your club logo on it and your own personal information. I would recommend that. You also get 4 custom signatures and 100 bonus points with it, okay? If you want a monthly subscription, okay, the points are valued at 39 cents a point. So roughly, you're getting 100 points a month. They carry over for 18 months. You don't lose them. If you stop your subscription, you don't lose your points in the system, all right? So if you want to show you the card pricing. If you want to pay as you go and not have a subscription, just to have the send out card account, you can purchase your points from 43 cents to 66 cents a point. It costs you a little bit more. Times that by 3, that's what a card's going to cost. If you have a subscription, the points come down to 39 cents. That's the wholesale price, okay? So basically, I recommend everybody giving this a try. If it works out for you, great. Get your points at a lower cost, okay? On that sheet of paper I sent you, at the bottom line, you'll need that number 70341 when you join to get on it, okay? Any questions? Okay, great.
Brian, thank you so much. Great way to connect with membership for sure. You know, you could use it just for the few pro-ams you might play a year, or you know, you could. But yeah, your costs are good, and yeah, costs of a couple lessons. You know, you're going to get a lot of return on that. So, thanks for your time. Let's take a real quick break. 5 minutes. Use the restroom, grab some water. We'll come back with Andrea Rowan.
Bathrooms are off.